Maybe you are the perfect guest for this podcast right now. I feel like you got a little bit of coal miner's daughter, a little bit of Jolene. Am I right?
Well, I'm not from coal mining people, but I've been around a lot of coal mining people. And I love my Dolly, because I live in Knoxville now, so I can see the Smoky Mountains from my driveway, and I've raised my children at Dollywood.
How many songs have been written about the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee? Like,
Oh,
I think
Lord.
that's kind of like if you can't be in country music unless you've written a song about Smoky Mountains.
And have you ever heard of Boudreaux? And they wrote Rocky Top. And Rocky Top is the theme to the University of Tennessee, our fight song. And Boudreaux, what is his name? It was a wife and husband, and they wrote that tune in an old motel in the Smoky Mountains in Gatlinburg. And they went on to write every hit you've ever heard, and are in the Hall of Fame country music. And I think wrote rock and roll songs. Honey, I'm in menopause. I don't have any recall. But their son ended up running BMI in Nashville for was the top music executive. But it was Boudreaux. That was his name, and his little wife, and she looked like Loretta Lynn. And there was this country little couple and polyester breeches. And if you Google them, the people that wrote Rocky Top, you will be fascinated by them.
Well, you know what? Since I've started doing this podcast, you've realized just how important, like, the South and country is the foundation of rock and roll. But then also you go before that and it's blues. And I guess country is just an offset of blues, which in a sense was created in the South anyway. And then we just did, Adam, what was the record I just did with Fetterman? The one about the record label.
Sun Records compilation that basically focused on the Sun Records studios in Memphis, Elvis, and the $1 Million Quartet.
Yeah. I mean, that's
have y'all seen the Elvis movie?
Not yet. I have there's a theater like 10 blocks away from me in New York City, and it's got the IMAX, and I love their popcorn. Well,
then you got to go watch Elvis on IMAX. I didn't watch it in IMAX, but I've heard people going, and it's unbelievable. And they talk about Sun Studios, Sam. What was his name? Y'all, I used to be so smart.
Sam
I'm 56.
Elliott. He played for the San Antonio Spurs. He was a shooting guard. Sam Phillips.
Tim Duncan. Sam Phillips.
All right, we're gonna have fun. I like you, Leanne.
Don't.
No, I love you because this is why I've been digging on doing this, and this is why I still haven't quit. Because I get paid in popcorn for this podcast. No, I love music. I feel like there's for certain people, music it hits you in a different way where it's like it affects me, and I'm also I'm very like I cast a wide net of the type of music that I'll listen to, but because of this podcast. And so my breakthrough moments while doing this, one of them was when I did Loretta Lynn's Greatest Hits, where I just wrote her off as there's just some country chick and whatever. And then I started listening to her music and then started reading the story. And then I watched the movie and then I re-listened to the song Coal Miner's Daughter. And then I just started weeping during it because I was like, oh my God, it's like, this is, I know what she experienced. And so now when, you ask somebody, well, what do you listen to? And they'll be like, everything but country. And I'm like, you're not listening to the right country.
Right. So you like Americana, and because I grew up right outside of Nashville. And first of all, let me say thank you. And two, I've just started Invisalign. This is my second day. So if I spit out at you, I thought it wasn't going to affect my speech. And they were like, oh yeah, you can take them off while you're on stage. But you don't have to, you're not even going to notice it. And I'm like, yeah, I can. But anyway, I slept all night like this and had to take Tylenol, but.
Does it hurt?
Okay.
Wait, back to the Invisalign, because I had braces and I got one tooth that's starting to turn a little bit. It's not bad. It's not bad at all, but it's just I notice it. And I'm like, man, if I just stop it before it fully turns, so I'll do Invisalign. Does it hurt? Because braces sucked.
Braces were horrible, and I've had 3 babies 2 different ways, and I thought braces were worse than anything I'd been through, because they said to me, it's like moving concrete in an adult. In children, it's like moving jello. So yeah, I had them in my 40s. I had a crossbite, and it was horrible, and I kept mouth sores, and it just hurt, and so when they told me your crossbite is back, because I hadn't been wearing my retainer, I worked for years, and then I just said screw it. And now my crossbite is back, and I'm on this huge tour, and I'm stressed out. And so I'm grinding my peaks down, they told me. So they they said, you can do Invisalign. So I got it yesterday, because I thought if I put braces on again, I don't care. I don't care. I'm not doing that again. And these are, I think it's going to be okay. It's tight, but they said they'll loosen up over the 2 weeks, and then you'll put another tray in. And this is nothing like braces were.
Good.
Nothing. Yeah. So I just took a couple of Tylenol. I watched an episode of Better Call Saul.
There you go.
And yeah, my husband and I just got on that because we didn't know what it was, and we were excited to have something that we can watch together because we don't really have anything in common. And so I'll let you know how these go. But they said they thought maybe 6 months. But see, if you don't have a crossbite, you just got a tooth, I bet you wouldn't have to wear them long at all.
I got this little dude. You can't tell. I need that.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Right there. But trust me, dude, that retainer I think I wore for 8 minutes, and then I was like, go fuck yourself. I was like, I am done with.
And next time, if you do fix this, get you a permanent one, because I've got a permanent one on the bottom, and I should have gotten a permanent one on the top. But anyway,
I had a permanent one on the bottom, and then it just fell off. And then I didn't care about it. No, man, it's fine. My down teeth are bomb. All right, here's my main question.
So you live in New York. You live in New York.
Yeah, I live in New York City.
I want to find out your personal business, but that's okay. We can talk about.
Ask me anything. Ask me anything. We're gonna get to Dolly Parton. There's like listeners right now that are so mad.
Is there a
I
woman
could give a
in
shit.
there?
Is there a woman?
In there? Do you live with a woman?
I do not. I do. I have I have like a dog. I have my dog, my 80-pound Doberman. She is. I mean, she's more of my daughter. And love interest. We spooned last night. She's so big. She's the best. But that's no, I don't have a horse. Yeah, she's a horse. I don't have a girlfriend. I date a lot.
You do.
But I'm too. I like being single. I like being selfish.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of, I'm 42 and I should find somebody because this is it. This is the best.
But you're so cute and you've got on a tank top. I can tell you're a player, and it's okay. I like a player.
I've had my days. I've had my days.
Okay. I like to hear about that.
It's still in me, but not as much as it was. I mean, I like, if a girl says to me, I will fuck the shit out of you at 3 a.m, I'm like, I will be asleep by 11:30, so we got to bump it up.
Yeah. She better get to it around 9:30.
She better get to it. But I'm originally from Washington, D.C. area, Maryland. I've been doing stand-up I just hit 14 years on August 1st. Actually, something really crazy. I moved to Los Angeles on August 1st, 2007. I started stand-up August 1st, 2008. And then I moved to New York August 1st, 2021. So August 1st has like a weird, I don't know what it is, but something big's going to happen on August 1st. Life-changing events.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I've never gotten to live in LA or New York to do comedy. And I've always felt like I wasn't one of the cool kids in the cafeteria, because I started out 22 years ago with 3 babies in Appalachia.
Is Appalachia? That's is that West Virginia or is that Tennessee?
Well, honey, it goes from Georgia to Maine, the Appalachian Mountains. And I married a man who is from Morristown, Tennessee, which is at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, but very like hospitals, a lot of doctors, very hooty-doo, like he was raised in a country club. He wants to act like he wasn't, but anyway. Yeah. And then up a little bit from that are people who don't know who the president is, but they're precious people. And my husband works in the mobile home industry. And so he was over southeastern Kentucky, where where Loretta Lynn was in the hollers of West Virginia, Kentucky, where people are so oppressed. And there's a lot of drugs like Dope Sick. Have you seen Dope Sick?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know about it. West Virginia. I mean, that's what you do out there. It's like there's nothing to do.
I know they don't have anything way to make a living. It's terrible. Okay, but I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I was raised in Middle Tennessee, outside in this farming community outside of Nashville. So all the country music stars lived on Hickory Lake and outside of Goodlettsville, Hendersonville, where some of the Bee Gees ended up living there, but it was like Johnny Cash. I would see Johnny Cash and June at the Sherwin-Williams getting paint themselves, and June would have a big fur coat on. And then I would see Porter Wagner at the mall. And Porter Wagner, and I don't want to, God rest his soul, talk about somebody dead, but I was 15 years old and I was cute. And I remember coming up to him because I was fascinated by country music stars. I saw them all the time. The Barbara Mandrells. I bought bras and panties next to the Mandrell sisters at the Dillards. Anyway, I've said, Mr. Porter Wagner, and back then you didn't have phones or anything, and I just wanted to meet him. And he said he had a banana with fudge, the hardened chocolate on it. And he said, would you like to eat some of this popsicle? And I looked back on it and I thought, that was nasty. I mean, I was 15 years old and I was eating this banana with chocolate on it that was his. He was standing there watching me eat it. Anyway, I'm sure he didn't mean anything gross by it. But anyway, he had on a big cowboy hat and a velvet coat at the mall that was bedazzled. So I was raised near that country music and I was fascinated by them, but it was the old timey country music, Waylon Jennings.
Yeah.
And I've got a son who's 28, about to turn 29. And he, from the time he's an old soul, and by the time he was in 4th grade, he was listening to all those guys and Dolly Parton and Jesse Coulter and all those people, Chris Christopherson. Yeah.
So was country music and like Dolly like playing in your household? How are you? I mean, I'm assuming it's just like, like the way you get the phone book in the mail, you get a Dolly Parton record sent to your house if you live below the Mason-Dixon line.
Well, I'd like to say that. I mean, we always loved her and watched everything she was in and loved her. But playing in my house was more, my family, my old grandmamas and aunts and everybody loved Elvis. And they loved, my mom loved Creedence. What is that? Creedence
Clearwater Revival. Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. Like I'm a R&B gal. I was in the clubs in the 80s, smoking cigarettes, dancing to Prince, Sheila E. I was into all of that. But so growing up, my people weren't like up here in East Tennessee, people get a banjo and mandolin and people would sit around and pick. We weren't in that. I don't know what we were doing. I guess my little mom and daddy were trying to make a living and everybody's trying to grow tobacco. And I just grew up on a bunch of R&B, Earth, Wind and Fire, that kind of stuff. But up here in East Tennessee, I'm sure people, Dolly Parton, Lord, has kept this region people employed.
So obviously you like you said, you went into R&B and stuff. So then how did you find Dolly? Was it like, how did it suddenly be like, how did you end up being on this podcast today doing the Dolly Parton episode?
Well, I know this is really what I was raised on, Hee Haw.
Yes.
And so Hee Haw, we loved, I love Saturday Night Live and my mom would let me watch it and it was nasty and my dad would get mad, but Hee Haw, when it came on, we all watched Hee Haw and we loved all those people. I grew up going to the Grand Ole Opry. My parents had a meat processing plant. They cut up the people's meat, a lot of like Mel Tillis and people like that. And I guess growing up around it, it wasn't that, I mean, it was special, but I didn't grow up like sitting and listening to Dolly Parton, but I loved Jolene. I loved her when she'd come on with Porter on Hee Haw. I've got a beagle going nuts. I'm sorry.
No, it's quite all right. I don't hear it, so don't worry.
You don't? Okay.
No, not at all.
But I know that my mama was always a big fan of Dolly, and she'd come on. That was back then when it was all the big hair.
Big hair.
She was heavier, and it was I know why she did it, but it was like a character almost. And we were fascinated by her. But I tell you, I didn't get really fascinated by her until probably 9 to 5. And then I had my babies up here in East Tennessee, and we all go to Dollywood. We always got Dollywood season passes. And you hear a lot more about what she's done. She gives each high school child $500 if they'll graduate.
Are you serious?
She buys, yes, children in Sevier County. There was a terrible graduation rate, so she gave every child, I think she still does, $500 incentive if they'll graduate, and that gave mountain children who don't have anything the incentive to keep going and graduate. So I've always heard about that. I've done a lot of gigs, a lot of fundraisers for Dolly's library. You know, she's put a book in every child's hand all over the world.
Yeah.
So
Didn't she hold on. Didn't she like pay for the Moderna vaccine or something? Like,
well, she gave $1 million.
Yeah.
$1 million to Moderna, I think, to help.
I mean,
it's no telling what she's worth. And going to Dollywood, I would always
tell me about Dollywood, because I'm curious. Is it amusement park? What is it?
It's an amusement park. And when I was growing up, it was called Silver Dollar City. Gigi, baby. Yeah. She's wanting to hunt. There's a man fixing my sprinklers, and she's wanting to cuss him out. Okay, so what was I saying? I'm crazy.
Dollywood. You said it used to be Silver Spring. Yeah.
All right. It was Silver Dollar City, and my family would go. We're about 4 hours from it, where I was raised, and we would go, and it was fascinating. Like, you would get on a train, and there'd be cowboys and shooting, and you'd feel like you were really being shot at. Anyway, and you get silver dollar pancakes. Okay, then Dolly bought it and changed it into Dollywood, and I was grown when she did that, I guess, or I was in college, and it is beautiful. And I'm not an amusement park person, and I don't like a roller coaster, and I don't dig all that. Like, I've taken my kids to Disney, but I'm not one of those Disney people. I don't care about. But it is a beautiful park, and I'm so sorry. And it is like in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, so you can see the mountains. They keep it spotless. It's got unbelievable rides and all that kind of stuff. If you like that kind of thing, they've also got shows, because she's an entertainer. She's got unbelievable people from all over the world come and do these shows, and so you can sit down and watch bluegrass, country, whatever. She has different themes every year. It's unbelievable. And then she has they have people like doing stirring goat milk soap. You know, they got little women in prairie outfits, and they've got blacksmiths doing that, and they've got people that have built these carriages, horse and carriages. So it's like you go back into time. Yeah. Now, a lot of kids don't care about that. My kids did. My boy, has got a garden and cans his own food. So when he saw somebody blacksmith, and he was on fire. So my kids grew up going, but we're only 30 minutes from it, so we get passes.
No, of course. Yeah. If you're close to Six Flags, you got to get the season pass at Six Flags.
Yeah.
If I lived by Dollywood, I would 100% I'd go to it. And if it was cheap enough, I would get the season pass. There's a fascination about her. I think the fact that, because not every rock star can have an amusement park, not every person, it doesn't seem like egotistical that she would do that, or like, I deserve this, or I'm better than everybody. It seems like you said, the way that she would put books into people's hands and donate money. She's like, hey, this thing was a piece of shit. Probably I'm going to buy it, spice it up, and I'll make it all the shit that I love. And if I know there's,
and employ people in that area. That is a big employer, because it's got now she's got a hotel that is stunning. She's got cabins you can rent, and she's got Dixie Stampede, where you go and you eat a chicken with your bare hands, and people ride on horses and stand on them and all that. It's fascinating. She's an entrepreneur. There's several things around that splash country that people come from all over the world to go.
Let me ask you, Adam, in the notes that you gave me, do you have a list of like all of her accomplishments and all the philanthropic? Is that even philanthropic?
I think it is.
I know I don't have that. I have all her career accolades, but I have,
Could
don't have.
could you pull up all the philanthropy she's done? Because I have a bunch of like I got to ask you this: being that you are from Tennessee, do you think like Dolly is like Tennessee's most valuable export?
Yes, I know
You
it. I
do.
know she is. Yeah, everybody. Um, yeah, she's our. They put statues up of her everywhere. I said something was recent about that. She's like the person from Tennessee, especially after the vaccine. But yeah, she's always been loved. And I tell you all this, she's never been political. She
Never.
does not, you don't know what she's thinking. She does not ever, because she says half my people may feel this way, half my people may feel, I'm not in that business. So I think that's been sweet. People just want to be entertained and they love her. And she's not divisive. And I've never heard her say anything like that. I've always heard her say, that she's got like 10, 12 brothers and sisters. She's made them all a living. Her little mom and daddy, of course, they're gone now, but they were mountain people. They were raised up in the mountains in like a 2-bedroom home.
No, I've got
I've
this
been
here.
in it.
No, here you go. She's born in a one-room cabin in Eastern Tennessee in 1946. Grew up dirt poor, being the fourth of 12 children. Her dad was a sharecropper and tended to his own small tobacco farm, while her mom had given birth to her dozen children. Jesus Christ, dozen by the age of 35. Well, the vagina does bounce back, and I guess at 35, it's like that's like a good perfect age to stop and then be like, all right, the human body is amazing.
It is. I bet her little mama's was shot. But yeah, isn't that something? And
Yeah,
she's
but
taking care of all of them. And a lot of them work at Dollywood. Now they're getting too old, but I mean, all of them were employed under her.
Yeah,
And,
so
and she's made them a living.
she met Johnny at age 13. She started like singing in church and stuff as a child. Then she does the Grand Ole Opry, which led her to meet Johnny Cash. He encouraged her to follow her own instincts. She moves to Nashville after graduating high school, enjoyed some success as a songwriter. She got painted as a bubblegum pop singer by the record label, who she signed with at 19. Only one charting single, but she wanted to sing country. The Powers thought her high soprano voice wasn't suited for the genre. Then she composed Put It Off Until Tomorrow for Bill Phillips. The label gave her a chance with a couple of singles. God, such like terrible names, Dumb Blonde and Something Fishy. That's how like shitty it was back in the day. They charted inside the top 25, led to her first record, Hello, I'm Dolly. This led to her meeting with Porter Wagoner. I think I said that. Wagner.
Port Wagner.
Port
The
Wagner.
one that fed me that ice cream in the mall.
Oh yeah. It says he invited her to be a part of a nationally syndicated TV show about chocolate covered bananas. That might be his fetish. That's what he's into, Porter. He's into some freaky stuff. And this led to her getting a deal with RCA Victor. She did some solo albums, ignored despite the run of success with Wagoner. When 70 hit, he convinced her to record a cover of Jimmy Rogers' Mule Skinner Blues, which shot up to number 34. Her single started to get notoriety in 71. 1971's Joshua being her first number one hit. The Joshua album came out in 71, which was right around the time of the recording of today's record. So this is when this comes out, is she a big star? Do we know?
She was with Porter Wagner, and it's always been known that like he got mad when she kind of started becoming a star on her own, and he said, I've made you, and he wanted her to stay with him, and she went out on her own, and it was like a big blow up. And so that song, I Will Always Love You,
yeah,
she wrote that about Porter.
Really?
Romantic way, but that I'll always love you, and like you gave me a shot and all that, but I don't owe you anything. Like it was time for her to move on. And then I always love you. This is what I've heard about her, is that she owns everything, and that Colonel Parker wanted Elvis to record that, and he said, but he has to own it, and she would not do it. And he said, well, what about 50%? And she was like, no. So she said, I always wanted Elvis to sing that, but I'm not selling anything. These are songs are like my babies, because she didn't have her own children. And she said, they're like my babies and I'm not selling them. So everything I've always heard is that she is an unbelievable business person. And
Obviously.
I did this fundraiser up in Sevierville, and these women bought for somebody's 50th birthday party a lunch with me, and bless their hearts, they didn't have to pay all that to go eat lunch with me. I didn't have anything going on. I would have gone and eat lunch. But anyway, I went up to Sevierville, and I didn't even realize who it was. And it was all of her staff and the people who run the women executives. Oh, I'm sorry, Siri. The women that run her business. So it's her marketing person, her accountant, the people who decorate everything and all this stuff she has, the hotels, all that. And it was fascinating. And they all said to me that she loves employee women, but she's got men too, loves them, but she is brilliant. And that every decision she's made is from her gut, and that she is authentic. That's who she really is. And she's a very faithful person, and she gives a lot. I have a child who she did work for Make-A-Wish. Now she works for Children's Hospital. And there was a child with cancer and wanted to meet Dolly. And so my daughter took this child to meet Dolly. And she said she was unbelievable. I mean, she was precious to that child. And she's just, I mean, she's a star. She's
a star. She's a star. Yeah.
But she gives back, and everything she does is to help somebody else. You can just tell it.
Oh, you can see that Dolly is not in it for anything other than to entertain and help people, because anytime they try to give her something, she's like, no, you don't need to. Like, I don't want anything. Like, she doesn't have an ego. Like, she believes in herself. She's confident, but she doesn't put off that she's better than anybody. Like, she turned down the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And then this year, because I vote on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I'm like a part of like the whatever it is, and I get a thing once a year, and I go, all right, these are the people that are listed. And Dolly was on the short list, and she wanted to be removed. She's like, I'm not rock and roll. Like, there's other people that are on that list that deserve to be in there. I don't deserve to be in there. I don't want to be in there. She's like, can you please take my name off? And then they still voted her in. And I don't even know if she's probably going to show up, because she's just like, I don't care. Like, I don't need it. I'm doing I have everything I need. Like, I brought so much joy to so many people. Like, whereas Elvis, because I would say, I know this is probably not a good comparison, but like, because Elvis was such a huge legendary rock star, but I mean, is Dolly like the female Elvis as like popularity? You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy. Am I wrong?
I know. I would think so. I mean, I think when I think of those people, I think Michael Jackson, Dolly Parton, Elvis. Would you say Beyonce would be our new one?
I'd say Beyonce now. Yeah. I'd say Beyonce. Yeah. Because you're talking, because Elvis is global. The Beatles are global. Beyonce is global. Drake, global. Even Justin Bieber. You always got to say, like, if he was still alive, would my 80-year-old dad know who Beyonce is? And he would, because you've heard the name enough. And so he'd be like, oh, that's the girl, the singer, and blah, blah, blah. And I think Dolly Parton is one of those people that I don't think if you could ask most people, anybody in the entertainment industry that lives in a big city, if you said Dolly Parton, they'd go, oh yeah. And even the kids today, I think they would know who Dolly Parton is. I don't know if they would know how big she was or how important she was or even iconic, but they probably heard the name and they would probably be like, you mean that country girl with the huge titties? And they'd be like, yeah, big titty Dolly. But what I'm saying is, whereas Elvis and Michael Jackson and John Lennon and Paul McCartney, maybe not Paul, but everybody has these big egos. Dolly just feels like she doesn't have it at all. And I think that's kind of what makes her so special. Aside from all the other stuff we've already mentioned, the growing up poor and building a career. I've been lucky enough actually I did a set at the Ryman. It was during the Nashville Comedy Fest. And it was just like walking.
When, my darling? What
this
year?
was this year, just like it was like a kid rock. It was like a kid rock show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
We did the Ryman, and then later that night, I do a music comedy show that's really popular where comics sing after their set with my band, and we did it at Kid Rock's Honky Tonk, which was great and it was fun. But the being at the Ryman, I just walked around and it was like, and then I know the history of it's not actually this because I guess the Grand Ole Opry moved, right? It's a different location, and the Ryman
yeah.
is now more of like a historical location, but you can feel it. Even the way that like the pews are set up and how everything, it's just so old, and you can feel the history in there. And to know that people like Loretta Lynn and Johnny Cash and Dolly Parton and all those people played there.
Patsy Cline.
Patsy Cline, yeah. See, this is,
Because
you know,
I
what's
did
fun?
the Ryman. I did the Ryman. That was my first show of my big panty tour of 100 cities. And I was scared to death because we'd been in the pandemic and I hadn't worked. And I thought, oh my Lord, I've wanted to do the Ryman all my life. And then, and I just didn't feel like I had enough time under my belt during the pandemic. But anyway, I did it. And I know what you're saying. Backstage, when you're looking at, there's pictures of Dolly Parton and Elvis. And I remember just thinking, what in the world am I doing here? And it was very intimidating. And I'd like to go back. I think they're going to put me at the Grand Ole Opry next year, but I would like to go back to the Ryman because I felt like I couldn't enjoy it. I was so torn up and felt like I didn't deserve to be there. And I remember being on stage and almost like watching myself. Have you ever done that? Where you're performing and you're like, and I've had to do it one time when I was on cough syrup, but I'm looking at myself and thinking, what am I doing? And everything was in my head, like Patsy Cline was here and Elvis, instead of concentrating on. But anyway,
yeah.
I hope I get to come back.
You will go back. I'm going to tell you, this is one of my favorite ones I've ever done. For not giving a shit about the record and being like meeting the guest for the first time. You rule, Leanne. You fucking rule.
Angel,
Thank
you, my darling.
You are so charming.
Well, thank you. Then can I tell you that I met
please.
Kid Rock at Zany's Backstage, and he had young girls around him that looked like porn actresses.
Oh yeah.
And high heels on, and everybody was smoking marijuana.
There you go.
And I had on I don't think I had on a girdle, but I was like backstage, and I got to meet David Spade that night. And I've always been a big fan of his. He's tiny, and I think I intimidated him because I went, David Spade, and I think he thought I was like some weird. And then I said, Kid Rock, you don't know me, but I said, I'm playing the Ryman and I've sold it out. He said, when is it? And I told him when it is. He goes, oh, that's somebody's birthday. I can't go. I said, oh Lord, I don't expect you to go. I just wanted to tell you that I love you or whatever. And we held hands and did this at each other. He was precious.
When he's Bob, he's the best. We met him. We met two different versions of him. We met Bob at the Ryman, and then he started drinking. And then halfway into the show, he became Kid Rock. And then we went to his honky tonk. Like he was supposed to get up there and perform with us, but he just like took off. And what was so funny, he had these like long, like what are they called? Pigtails or pinktails, like they're braids, like really cool, like Willie Nelson braids. And me and another comic kept thinking he was in the back. We were like, oh, he hasn't left yet. He's still there. He'll come up eventually. He'll come up and sing. And then the show ended and he was like, he never came up, but he's still back there. We went back. It wasn't Kid Rock anymore. It was some older guy with one of those pairs of sunglasses where they put, where so you don't lose your shade. So the thing goes around your neck.
Yes.
Fishing. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yes. Oh my darling. Well, the night that I met him was the night that David Spade went, and it was still right in the pandemic. Everybody was worried, freaked out, and who'd been vaccinated and who hadn't. Mm-hmm. And Kid Rock started saying something controversial on stage, and I think little David Spade skedaddled. I think he thought, "Ooh, I don't want to get all up in this."
Well, I think, and I do this a lot now because of the world that we live in. It's like sometimes you got to remove the art from the artist, and it's like I can listen to Kid Rock's music and be like, "Yep, I fucking it'll pump you up, Ball with the Ball and Cowboy, they're fun stuff." But then it's like, it's like you said, Dolly Parton, stay middle of the road. Don't piss off anybody. Don't you have your own opinion, but you don't. That's the thing, is that we don't need, like, I don't need to hear what Drake thinks about the world. Like, who gives a fuck, right?
I know.
Yeah. And that's why I love Dolly.
People said to me, Leanne Morgan, who is a nobody, But people would say to me during the pandemic, like, Leanne, you need to tell people what you think about vaccines, whether it was get them or don't. And I was like, I'm not in charge of people's medical.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what I think. Now, I may tell you what kind of lipstick I'm enjoying.
Yes.
But, or what pair of Spanx holds me in. But I'm not getting into all that mess. But you're right. Dolly Parton has always been, because Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, they get a little sideways. And she's been on stage with them and they say some stuff and she keeps her mouth shut.
Yeah. I think
people appreciate it.
They asked her something about, I think it was either Bush or Trump. And then she was like, listen, I'm not going to, that's our president. I'm not going to say anything. And regardless, you don't have to, like, nobody, like, I don't want to know some of these people's opinions on certain things because we're not all going to gel. We're always, people are liberal, people are conservative, people are religious, some people are not. It doesn't make a difference. It's just like, I want to enjoy the art. And I think there's a way of being a celebrity and handling it with grace where you're not, it's just, we don't need to hear what everybody's going to say. And I think her actions, Dolly Parton's actions, speak louder than anything. Because even if she is like against this and against that, she's still giving so much to the community that she's like, listen, it's like, who gives a shit? I have $500 million and I'm giving away $100 million to help the world. And if, but if people want to be this, be that. And if you want to do that, do that. I don't give a shit. I love her, man. And what I really dug, because I feel like we got to talk about this record a little bit. God, I could talk to you about, I just want to talk to you about the Nashville comedy scene because it's such a great.
Oh, I know, honey. I bet we know a lot of the same people.
Oh yeah, Lucy at Zany's. Lucy at Zany's. I was just hanging out with at Just for Laughs. She's so great. Her husband Aaron. I love because I did Zany's during the pandemic, and it was so funny because it was the first time I had ever done it, and this is I want to say December or January of either 20 or 21. So it was December 20 or January 21. And I remember going there and I remember talking to the servers and being like, God, this is such a great room. And it's only half full. I was like, I couldn't imagine what it's like when it's full. And I was like, you guys are probably making less money though. So that probably sucks. And I remember they were like, oh no, we're actually making more money right now because we can actually tend to our tables. Because it's like they pack so many people in that room, and it's such a great room that even half full was like one of the better clubs. I think you could put Zany's Nashville up there with DC Improv, Comedy Works, Denver, just these great road rooms where I think that there's something about Nashville. Maybe it's the music industry that attracted artistic people there. But it just feels like they get comedy and they understand it and they love it.
It's Brian Dorfman.
Yeah.
And when I got started, we had moved back to, or where was I living? Maybe in Morristown, Tennessee. I'd had 3 babies. My baby was a year old or something. And nobody cared about me. Nobody wanted a mom. It wasn't cool. Anyway, I called Zany's and Brian Dorfman said, okay, I'll let you come and open. And I opened for Billy Gardell. And I had no idea. I'd been in one comedy club in my life. And I drove down there. And after it was over, Brian got me in the office and he goes, Leanne, I think you got something. And he goes, hey, you can't raise 3 babies doing comedy clubs. He said, Roseanne did that. She raised them in a station wagon in a parking lot and they didn't turn out. I mean, I don't know what happened to her kids, but he was like, it wasn't great. Like you've got to find another way. And I remember being mad, but I loved him and I thought, okay, I'll find another way. And then we moved to Texas and I did Cap City Comedy Club, which used to be one of the best comedy clubs. They just opened back up in Austin, Texas. And Austin's a huge, they've got Joe Rogan and all those guys down there and all those new clubs. But anyway, that was like my home club. And then Zany's, Brian's always let me come back when I couldn't get arrested. Nobody cared about me. And he would always let me come back. And then when this blew up for me in 2019, and I was just about to quit. I'd been doing it 20 years and I was exhausted and I thought nobody cared. And then I sold out Zany's on a Sunday afternoon at 4. Now, let me say, I was not one of those people that they let go on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And anyway, he let me do New Year's, and then now my 100 city deal is with Outback Concerts, and it's Brian Dorfman and Mike Smartack that did it. But what people don't realize, if there's comedians listening, Nashville is now one of the hottest spots in.
Yeah.
And if you want to do comedy, you need to go to Nashville, because the tour that I'm on, they also do Jim Gaffigan, Nate Bargatze, Bert Kreischer, Sebastian Maniscalco, Taylor Tomlinson. It's Fortune Feimster. So that, and it's all out of Nashville.
Yeah.
So it's the, anyway, they've been very
well,
good.
No, but you're right. Brian, Dorfman it's like, it's great. Every one of the zanies are great. Doing that festival, which, when you're doing a festival that's not like just for laughs, or, where you have a home base where it's like where all the shows are bunched up in one little area and you can walk to everything. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a real festival. What they did at the Nashville Comedy Festival, but with the merch and all the shows. And I mean, you looked at the lineup of the people that they brought in. I mean, the Kid Rock Show, Bill Burr, Bert Kreischer, Nate Bargatze, Ari Shaffir, Big J, all the guys, me, the goddamn Comedy Jam. Like, they're people that you want to work with. And because that they have a proven brand and they care about comedy. And obviously, if it's like, with the way he works with you, he sees the talent, they can identify it, and they want to grow it. How did you get started? I got to ask this. Like, you said you started 20 years ago. How did you get started? Like, were you just funny around your friends? Because I could see you killing it at like a dinner party or a Thanksgiving or something.
At the McDonald's parking lot after school. Yes, honey. I sold CDs out of an SUV for years. But no, I was all right. I've always wanted to do it, but I came from this, little country town and didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know what to do and didn't have the confidence. And it was after I got married and I had my first baby and I wanted to stay at home with my baby. My husband had a small business and we were in our 20s and 27. And I started selling jewelry like Mary Kay and Tupperware in women's houses. And I don't even care about jewelry. And I started like developing an act, and I had a shtick, and I would go lay this jewelry out on somebody's kitchen table and eat some dip and a brownie. And then I would talk about breastfeeding and hemorrhoids, because at the time I was birthing and pregnant all the time, and women thought I was funny. And some woman peed on a couch one night, and I'm not kidding you, that was like an aha moment where I thought, okay, I think I could do this. Somebody just peed on a couch. And then I got booked so far in advance, like a year out with this company, people having these parties with me, that the company noticed and asked me to start speaking at their big things. And women were in that crowd, and they go, you need to be a stand-up. And so then we sold our business and went to work. My husband went to work over South Texas for this company. And I started driving back and forth to Austin, Texas. And they had Chick Stick night, and they would let me up, and they believed in me. And it was Rich Miller, Dennis Miller's brother. Dennis Miller from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
And his brother, Jimmy Miller, was a big manager. And they believed in me. And I got my first television deal with ABC and Warner Brothers. And it didn't make it. But from Rich Miller and Jimmy. And so, and from there, I'm a mom. So my husband's executive, so he was traveling, so I couldn't do everything. I couldn't just go out here and be on the road.
Yeah.
In comedy clubs. So I did a lot of private corporate. I did anything anybody let me do.
Sure.
And there were certain clubs that let me work, bless their hearts, because it was like Birmingham Stardome, Chattanooga Comedy Catch, still open, Austin Cap City Comedy Club, Zanies. They would let me come and do an off night. So I did comedy clubs, but I had to just find another way. And then I got on a tour called the Southern Fried Chicks with two other women right when Blue Collar was blowing up. And that kept me, that helped me. I was really the opener, and that helped me get a lot of time under my belt.
Yeah.
And throughout these whole, when I was raising children, I would always have a television deal. Like, I would be ready to quit and think this is awful and nobody cares. And then I'd get a call from Hollywood for a television deal. And then it wouldn't make it. And then I got jaded and thought they're crazy and they don't, I'm not even gonna, but, and really, I'll just tell you what happened. Okay. And I'll make it quick. Okay. So my manager was in LA and he said, Leanne, there's this dry bar thing. You know, dry bar is this comedy platform for clean comics. And he said, they want you to do one. And he goes, nobody's ever going to see it. He goes, you're doing the luncheon for the Chamber of Commerce in Dubuque that week. That's how bad my career was going. I was going to go do the luncheon, not even a nighttime show.
Yeah,
I was doing the luncheon, which let me say, they are darling and they drink. They're drinking people.
Sure.
And they gave me a mimosa and I got high as a kite and I had to go sit on a toilet in a convention center and hold the signs because the room was spinning. But anyway, then I flew out to Salt Lake City. I did old material. He goes, just do old material because nobody's ever going to see it. We get some clips. Maybe these clips will get you some corporate gigs.
Yeah.
And I had a terrible looking spray tan. I had on a terrible looking outfit. I had a thyroid nodule that had poked out and I had a necklace that was cocked up on it. I mean, I can't even look at it. And I did this old material that I could barely remember. And but darn if they didn't have millions of views from it. But it didn't sell tickets. And I got all these people, I guess, stay at home watching me. And my manager got me in a couple of improvs in Florida. And they were like, she's sweet. And also Chicago, zanies. They were like, she's sweet. You know, she doesn't get drunk and fight in the parking lot. But we're not going to have her back. She can't sell any tickets. And at that point, I thought, I'm gonna let this go. I had a child get married right out of college, and I knew they wouldn't have babies, and I'm from the country, and we like to take care of our grandchildren.
Sure.
And I thought I'm gonna just slide out of this thing. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And the one last effort, I said to my manager, I was watching Nate Bargatze and Jim Gaffigan and what they were doing, and I said they've got social media people because I was just putting up pictures of my dogs, you know, my kid, and I didn't know what to do. And he goes, that's too expensive, Leanne, you can't afford it. And so he taught me out of it. And then I went back and said, I'm doing it. I'm just going to invest in myself and it's expensive, but I'm going to do it. And these young guys in their 20s who were darling started putting stuff out of mine. You know, I had all this material for 20 years. I had, several hours on. So they started putting out, and there was the one that changed everything was me taking my husband to go see Def Leppard and Journey. And I talked about how old everybody looked, and we felt old, and everybody has plantar fasciitis. And the guy at Def Leppard, you know, looks like he's got a hernia, he's got tiny legs, and, you know, he's got thyroid
He's been on the
issues.
podcast. By the way, Joe's been on the podcast, lead singer. Yeah.
Oh, well, don't tell him I said that because I think he's cute.
Joe, she thinks you got plantar fasciitis. He's in the other room with Lecca right now. We're hanging.
I wish my legs were as tiny as his.
Oh.
Anyway, that went viral. I was in New York moving my child in. She went to school in Manhattan, and we were moving her in. And I saw this being shared thousands of times. And I said to my family, something's happening. And they were like, yeah, whatever. Uber's here.
Yeah.
Shut up, you know.
Yeah. Where are we going to dinner?
Everybody's, you know, they're like, oh, kooky mom trying to make it, still trying to make it in Hollywood. And so, and that changed everything. And I started selling out all over the United States. In 2019, I'd been clubs, and these club owners would go, where have you been? Because I had this audience that they've got money, you know, they're older, they've got money, they don't get drunk and fight in the parking lot. And it was what was really sweet. It would be somebody's like 80-year-old mother that had never been in a comedy club. And then her daughter said that was 45, 50, and then their daughter that was in college. And so it was like 3 generations coming, and I was just as shocked as everybody else. And they were like, oh my Lord. And then Outback Concerts gave me a 100-city deal across the United States. And I was ready to quit. I mean, like I've had 2 headshots made in 20 years. I mean, I did what I could, but I was a mama trying to raise 3 children.
You saw it. No, but you saw it. Dude, I'm telling you, the power of social media and posting your clips. We don't need ABC, CBS, Fox, any of those people. You don't need the big agent. You don't need the big manager. If you are diligent and consistent with your social media and posting videos and posting clips, that I started doing that about a month or so ago. And over the last 2 weeks, I think I've gotten 12,000 new followers. And it's insane. It's now I'm just at the beginning of it. And I'm like, all right, all the money I make, I'm investing into but shooting every show. And luckily in New York, they shoot every single show that you do. The Cellar shoots, the Stand, the New York Comedy Club. But anytime I go do an hour, I'm bringing a video camera, I'm hiring a guy, or I'm bringing my own stuff. I'm shooting that. I'm doing the Capital One Arena with Bill Burr. I'm shooting that. Like, content is so important.
Oh my gosh.
But it because you mentioned Bargatze and Gaffigan, like, and if a grandmother and a child can come to the show and it's clean and it's funny, that's when the real money comes. I've been to Bargatze's house. He's building like a golf like simulation hitting thing in there. It's like he's doing great. So
yeah, he is. And we've done a couple of shows together. We did an arena together in Mississippi, and then we just did the San Diego Fair. And if I could hang out with him and a bunch of boys doing comedy, because y'all are so fun. Boys are fun doing comedy. And I've got fun girlfriends in it, but we sat around and had a ball. It was Nick Novecki.
Yep.
Little Nick Novecki.
I know little Nick Novecki, yeah.
And then Brian Bates and Aaron Weber have both opened for me that are on the podcast with Nate. And I've been on his podcast. And I just got to meet Bert Kreischer. I was at one of his Fully Loaded, because we've got the same manager. Darling. He is darling. Yeah, and so I said, Bert, you don't know who I am. He goes, yes, I do, Leanne. And I thought I was going to faint. I've never met Bill Burr, and I'm a huge fan.
He's the best. He's the best. Oh. But obviously you have everybody you've mentioned, like you mentioned, so obviously Judy's your manager. So yeah, you're going to be fine. The next few years are gonna rule for Leanne Morgan. So
if I could just get my teeth straight, and if I could just quit eating white flour and sugar, and I want to be cute like Taylor Tomlinson when I shoot a special. I'm supposed to shoot a special in December, and I don't want to look like I did on Dry Bar. I don't want my thyroid to be, sticking out. I want it, and I want to have a good spray tan.
Listen, just don't go crazy at the spray tan place, and just walk a little bit more, and you'll be fine. And I don't know about the thyroid. I don't know about the thyroid. I think that's genetic, I guess.
Well, and where I'm living now is close to Oak Ridge, a nuclear plant. And I think that's kind of spooky, and it's kind of done something. But I wanted to get back to something about Dolly Parton that I think is important.
Please.
Because she has always said they think we're stupid. People think people are stupid in the South. And they always act like, oh, that dumb, and they treated her like that. And I've read where she said, they think I'm stupid. And let them think it. I don't care. Whatever. She does not care. And she does not put on airs. And that's who you see. And she's authentic. And that's really who she is. And I'm no Dolly Parton, but I've always, even when I was 18 years old, it just did not embarrass me that I was from the South, that I was from farming people. And I thought, this is who I am. And I got to be who I am. And I think, especially after the pandemic, people want authenticity, and they want you to be who you say you are.
Lean into whatever you are. If you're from the South and your experience, like, lean into that. And that's what I've been doing. And once I started doing that, because I'm a very musical person and I started singing more on stage, the crowds love it. And but also it's who we are. It's like, that's who Dolly is. That's who you are. And I'm who I am. And it's like, and Adam is a Holocaust denier, which is crazy. That the guy up there, that's the guy up there. He hates the Jews, and you can't hate him for that. He believes in his thing. He makes good points,
But you're right. You have to lean in, and people want to know who you are and want to get to know you, because there's a lot of funny people and they're wonderful. But Brian Dorfman said to me, he goes, people come through here, Leanne, and they're funny, but people don't remember their names. If somebody can remember your name and they go, oh, that's, because you put such an impression on them, and they go, I want to know more about them. I want to know what they're like. I think we're in a time where that's what is hip and selling, and people want to see.
Even if listen, no, I completely agree with you, but this is what more than just what's hip. It's like, even if you're like the biggest nerd comic in the world, there's an audience out there for you. You just got to find them. And once you find them, just nurture them and make shit for them. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck trying to be global. It's like it's pointless. It's pointless trying to say I want something that everybody can appreciate. Like you'll post a clip, or I'll post a clip, and I'll get hundreds of things that are like, this is funny, this is hysterical, and then I'll get another 50 that are like, this isn't funny at all, this is terrible. So go, all right, well, fuck these people. I'm gonna focus on the people that are gonna buy tickets and that want to see me. Dude,
Yes.
I think we haven't talked about Dolly Parton in 45 minutes. Here, let's wrap this up. Leanne, I could talk to you all day. You'll be back. Trust me. I want to have you back. I know there's going to be more records on the podcast. Adam, is there anything that we need to mention about this record that I think is important? Let me just go through her stats, because I feel like we gotta talk about
the Coat of Many Colors. Is this the Coat of Many Colors album?
Yeah, you got to talk about the title track for sure. But other than
that. Well, hold on. Before I get into that, but Dolly Parton is album certified gold, platinum, multi-platinum with over 100 million records sold. She's had 25 songs reach #1 in the Billboard country music charts, a record for a female artist. She's tied with Reba. Who could win in a fight, Dolly Parton or Reba McEntire? I think they should fight to the death.
Reba McEntire's a scrappy little somebody. I've met her. And even though her fanny is the size of 2 little AirPod cases, I think they're both so tiny. My daughter said that Dolly Parton's waist was this big, and so they're both tiny little women, but they're both scrappy. I bet they just whip until somebody died.
Yeah.
But I did hear this the other day. I heard that Dolly wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You in the same day.
I believe
Think about that.
Yeah. No, I believe it. Because
I can't even get my laundry done.
I know.
I mean, can you imagine?
I know. I got to go buy body lotion. I'm like, I don't know. I'll get to it eventually. And I can just go to my computer and order it on Amazon, which is proud supporter. I'm a big supporter of Amazon in New York City. I'm so against corporations, and I'm just like, like somebody was like, don't you ever go to Target? I'm like, I never go to Target. He was like, why do you get all your stuff? Amazon. It's just the worst, the most evil, like dictatorship, like corporation in the world. Dolly is special. She's composed over 3,000 songs. Jolene, Coat of Many Colors. She's been inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, Country Music Hall of Fame, Songwriters Hall of Fame, Grammy Hall of Fame 3 times, Gospel Music Hall of Fame. And like we said, she declined being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame class of 22, but they're going to induct her anyway. And I just, man, it's like, that's so cool. And I'll be honest, this record, I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't like into it. I listen to a lot of the records when I'm walking around or I'm working out, and I would put it on and I'd kind of just hear it in the background. But eventually it just started like really settling in, and I found the groove with it. And then yesterday was the first time I was like, oh, I get it. Now I see why this is on there. And the song Coat of Many Colors is, I mean, it really is.
Her mama took all their fabric, because they were poor, made her a coat. And it had all these different fabrics on it. There's been a movie. She's done a movie about it. And it made her think of in the Bible. Oh gosh, and see, I was raised Methodist, and I just made out with people during church. We make out during the youth group, honey. We did horrible things in the parking lot. Oh, we did. And but she, Joseph of Many Colors in the Bible. So she said it was like his coat, and there's a movie about it. She's acted and it has productions. Didn't she have a deal with Netflix? I mean, there's several. I should have studied. Next time, let me study.
No.
Give me Prince, and let me study Little Prince and Sheila E. Okay.
Done. I think, listen, it's even better. I used to like study the notes, and I would spend 10 hours doing research on every record. And it's like, and then I would try to act like I knew everything about any question the guest would ask. And it was so non-authentic, because I would be in my head, I was like, oh, I'm just reading, and the audience knows that. And they didn't know, but still, I think the reason this is great is that everything you've said, you've spoken from the heart about your love for it. You've spoken to your heart about Dolly. We got to the background of you. And then for me, it's like, I'm not going to hide. I don't know anything about Dolly Parton other than she has this huge boobs and she's awesome. and Jolene and I Will Always Love You, like, and 9 to 5, like, and I think she did the
9 to
Muppet
5,
Show.
Little Whorehouse. And remember when she was with Sylvester Stallone, and I don't know what was that movie called, and he had on a little jumpsuit. You could see his doings through his little jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And it was like they were a romantic partner, because I remember that because I went on a date with a guy at the University of Tennessee, and I just was not into him. And he took me to a Mexican restaurant, and I wasn't a big drinker, and I drank a pitcher of sangrias because I was so bored. And then he took me to go see Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone in that movie. And I can't remember what it was called. And Rhinestone. And there's another time when the room spun, and I thought I was going to vomit. Yeah. That was a roundabout way to say I dig the movie, though. It was darling. But you remember Rocky? You need to look that up, because he's built so cute but tiny in his jumpsuit.
Yeah, I don't think he's a big guy.
His daughter played travel volleyball, and my girls played travel volleyball, and they were out in Colorado, and I didn't get to go because I was in Indianapolis with one, and my husband was with the other one, and Sylvester Stallone was there. And we're big people. We're big farming people. We've got thick ankles. We can work in the fields.
Yeah.
And so my husband's 6'4", and so he said, "Oh my gosh!" I mean, like, he's tiny, but tiny men look good in Hollywood on camera.
Oh,
Tom Cruise.
That's why, dude. Tom Cruise is 5'9". Most of the Hollywood actors are 5'9".
So Sly Stallone is listed at 5'10", which probably means like 5'7", actually, I would imagine.
5'7" with a lift in his shoe. Yes.
Yeah, dude. We just got, if you're 5'9", just accept it and rock it, because you're not short. 5'9's right there. It's average.
Right there, and it's cute. I like little men.
Yeah.
I've made out with little men. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
All men are cute. Yeah.
Yeah, not all.
In the 80s. I haven't done anything in a long
the feathered
time.
bangs, like all that stuff, the T-top,
yes, honey.
like car, maybe like a half shirt. Oh man, I'm putting on as soon as I'm done with this.
But honey, you were so much younger than me, because you grew up. That wasn't your time. That was my time. You were 90s.
I was born in 79, so the 80s were, the 80s, but it was like I was like I grew up in the DC area. My dad listened to, it's so funny how all the music my dad used to listen to, I used to make fun of, and now I love all of it. Like, I'm really into the band The Ink Spots. Do you guys know who The Ink Spots are? They have that song. It's like, if I didn't care. I've been listening to that for like the last 5 days. I love it so much. And I sent it to Burr. I was like, dude, I'm really into the crooners. And he's like, this sounds like the music from a horror movie. I'm like, okay, well, it is, but they use it a lot, but it's really good. But that's why it's like, this is why, like, even with this record, it in the initial listen, I was like, yeah, this isn't my thing. But the more I listen to it, the more I can feel, like you said, you can hear the cast of characters that she's singing about, and about the human experience, and what Dolly did so perfectly, I think, on this record was, speak from the heart, write what she knows, because she wrote 7 out of the 10 songs on here, and they just feel, it's the same thing I loved about Loretta Lynn. It just feels so real. And it really is something I'm really, like, I would listen to more Dolly. I think probably when this is over, I have to listen to Public Enemy. It's going to be a weird contrast.
But there's something about the mountains and the oppression and being, because that's a hard life, and they dig coal to heat their homes to this day. So up in East Tennessee, bluegrass, Scottish, Irish people came and settled, and all that music came from that. And sometime you need to come and see me in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, my darling.
I would love that.
Because there's
I'll
museums and okay.
I will be in Nashville. Yeah, I'm 100%. This is not the last time we're seeing each other, Leanne. I am smitten with you. And I want to find out.
With you.
I want to find out how your thyroid's doing. I want to keep up with you. My sister's a doctor, so I'll check in and I'll be like, "Let me take a picture." I'll send it to Jody, Dr. Jody, and she'll be like, "All right, she needs to get on more prednisone, reduce the size." or what?
Yeah. Tell her that I'm also, and I hate to say this in front of a cute man, but I'm menopausal. So I got
Sure.
all kinds of stuff going on, but I'm okay. Everything's okay. And I can still, Jennifer Aniston's probably in menopause, you know?
100%,
Angelina
dude.
Jolie. Yeah. So
Angelina
Gwyneth
Jolie, yeah.
Paltrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's listen, that's the, I was just talking to my therapist about this earlier. It's like I was talking about like, man, I was like, I'm 42. Am I getting too old for all this stuff? And I have all this great shit going on. And he's like, but so you can't stop it. It's gonna happen. So just enjoy the human experience and enjoy all the ups, the downs, and just try to make this experience as pleasant as possible. And he was right. Like, yep, 100%.
Listen to me. I want you to listen to me, and I want
Yeah.
you to receive this. When I was your age, at 42, I remember thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting old," and I look back on it at 56. I look back on 42, and I think, "Oh my gosh, that is so young."
I know.
You've got so much time. Yeah. Don't let people make you feel like, "Oh, I'm getting an old man. I'm getting all that crap." You've got so much time and so much. This is the best time. You're doing so well. You got all this going on.
You're
Don't
right.
let all that drag you.
100%. I completely agree with you. And to all the listeners out there that are, because we have a lot of like 40 to 50-year-old listeners. We got some youngies, but the diehards seem to be about my age. It's like we're all young. Enjoy the ride. Damn, Leanne, you rule. You rule. All right. I'm going to ask you these questions, either the same questions I ask everybody to end the show.
Okay.
All right. What was your favorite song on this record?
Coat of Many Colors.
Yeah, me too.
It was. I mean, just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. It really is. It's definitely the one that I'm taking away from this. All right. What is the song on this record that you skip over?
Honey, there were some, I was looking and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a lot of them I have not, I've heard and I didn't know it. But My Blue Tears.
That's funny. That was mine too. That's crazy.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to ask you, I ask everybody this. What song on this record would you fuck to?
Oh, Murder.
And
I am in menopause.
It's a 2-part question. And is this a album you could put on when having sex? I think it is. I think it is. I think it. I do. I think.
One? Tell me, and I'll try it.
I think you can put it on track 1, and you can have sex to the whole thing. I think you can just fuck to the whole thing.
Coat of Many Colors, when her little family's in a 1-room house in the mountains.
It's not about what they're saying. It's about the vibe. The vibe. Here, let me put it on real quick.
Okay. What about Traveling Man? Is that kind of that? I guess you could role play.
You can fuck to travel. I think you can fuck to all of it. It's all just
That's a good one.
Hold on.
Oh, y'all.
You can fuck to this. I mean, it's Southern fucking. You know what I mean? It's chicken fried fucking, but you can fuck
in
to
the
it.
woods. Yeah.
Listen, it's not a record I'm going to put on to have sex to, but
I was going to say.
In theory, you can have sex in this record, and I think with Coat of Many Colors, you can let me just put the thing on because they'll add the music.
More of a Barry White kind of guy.
Yes, of course. I mean, if they change the lyrics to like, well, I'm taking off my girdle and I'm flashing you my cooter, get my scooter, and a skeet that penis, it works.
Maybe. But see, y'all got hormones and testosterone, so everything y'all like my husband, everything makes him think we could do it.
Yeah.
You're in the hospital, Leanne, with a fever. Let's do it. I mean, that's just how God made you boys. And I dig it. I dig it.
Oh, I love you, Leanne.
That's how y'all should be. Yeah.
For sure. Listen, we're not old until we start thinking we're old. So there's people, that's what they say. The nursing homes are just like a cesspool of STDs because they're fucking like crazy.
I know.
I
got my degree in child family studies and crisis intervention counseling, and we had a whole semester about elderly people and how they do nasty stuff, and they like steal carrots and zucchinis from the kitchen. I can't imagine that at this point in my life when I'm exhausted and I'm on tour and I'm, through an airport and afraid my flight's going to get canceled.
Yeah.
I'm not on fire right now, but maybe when I get to be 80,
Hey,
I'll be on fire.
Like you will, but don't lose that fire, Leanne. All right, last thing I want to ask you, what would be your elevator pitch to get somebody to listen to this record?
Oh my gosh, if you want to feel and be in the Smoky Mountains and be in the time in the 60s and feel what it's like to be oppressed in the but have love and have joy with your people, then listen to this album.
100%. God damn, you're awesome. Leanne, promote away. Anything you want to promote, please go ahead.
Oh, I don't know if all your hip people would want to come see a woman on tour, but LeanneMorgan.com. I'm 100 cities. I've got 30 left this year. And then I go start a new tour, 2023. And I'm writing a book, boys. I'm writing a book, but that'll be a while before that comes out. And I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I got coming up? I was just on Kelly Clarkson. And I sat next to Jessica Biel and we held each other because her husband's from Tennessee. Yeah, she was darling. Yeah. But anyway, just I'm out there touring all over the United States and I can't believe it. And if anybody wants to come, we'll have a good time.
Go see her, everybody. You're great. Leanne, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, my darling. I've enjoyed y'all so much. Y'all are precious. And if you ever come through here, I'll cook for you. Y'all can stay at my house. Okay?
100%. 100%.